Okay, let's talk about the three funds that literally every person on the internet tells you to buy: VOO, VTI, SPY. And everybody swears they're basically the same thing, so just pick one, don't overthink it, you're fine. I'm going to push back on that because these three are not interchangeable. Two of them are basically twins, sure. But the third one is quietly charging you extra for something you are almost definitely never going to use. And if you're buying this to hold for the next 30 years, that whole they're the same attitude can cost you real money and hand you a tax headache you honestly could have just skipped. So we're settling it today with the actual numbers, and by the end, you'll know exactly which one is yours. And stick around for the tax part especially, because that one genuinely annoyed me once I dug into it. Real quick, what these things even are, because the tickers tell you nothing. VOO holds the S&P 500, the 500 biggest companies in America. SPY, also the S&P 500. Same companies, same weights, same index. So VOO and SPY are honestly the same fund wearing different jackets. That's it. Tuck that away, it matters in about 2 minutes. VTI is the interesting one. Instead of 500 names, it owns the entire US stock market, somewhere around 3,500 companies. The giants, the mid-size ones, and the little guys nobody's posted about yet. So the real split here isn't even three ways when you look at it. It's the S&P 500, your VOO and your SPY, against the whole market, which is VTI. And everything else in this video is just math. It's not close. But hold on. Before you go thinking VTI is some bold, wildly different bet, I've got to show you something, because it kind of flips the whole conversation. Both funds are cap-weighted. Bigger the company, bigger its slice. And since a tiny handful of absolute giants run the entire market, those exact same giants run both funds. So when you line them up, VTI comes out around 85% identical to VOO. Same core, just a little something extra riding along underneath. Sit with that for a sec. Picking the whole market over the S&P 500 is not some dramatic fork in the road. It's the same giant companies you already own, plus a modest sprinkle of smaller ones. So all those people online swearing that one is obviously the superior choice are really just arguing over the last 15%. Good to know before somebody talks you into a headache. All right, if what they own is this close, then cost is where this whole thing actually gets decided. And this is where one of them falls behind. Okay, the expense ratio. That's just the cut the fund quietly skims off the top every single year. Money that leaves your account whether you're up, down, or asleep. VOO takes 0.03%. VTI? Same, 0.03. SPY takes more than 3 times that. And yeah, 3 times sounds scary and also somehow like nothing because we're talking pennies. So let me make it real. Put 100 grand in for 30 years, and SPY's cute little extra fee quietly eats something like $8,000 more than VOO does, to own the exact same 500 companies. And it's worse than it sounds, honestly, because that 8 grand never gets to compound for you. It just leaks out the side of the bucket, year after year, for absolutely nothing. Now, I'll be fair, SPY isn't badly run. It's the oldest, most famous ETF there is. It basically invented the whole category back in the 90s. But famous doesn't mean cheap, and nobody is paying you to be loyal to a ticker. Okay, here's the one almost nobody talks about, and it's the entire reason this video exists. This next one actually gets me a little. Normally, a fund has to sell some of its holdings here and there, and when it does, it can turn around and hand you a capital gains bill at tax time, even if you never sold a single share yourself. A surprise tax just for holding it. Here's the good part though. VOO and VTI both have this clever little structural trick that flushes those gains out before they ever reach you. And in practice, neither one has handed shareholders a capital gains distribution in years. SPY's structure just doesn't do that. So if you're holding this in a regular taxable account, not a Roth, not a 401k, just a normal brokerage, those two Vanguard funds can save you a tax bill that SPY will happily stick you with for doing nothing at all. And that's not a rounding error. That's the IRS taking a bite you never had to hand over. Which kind of begs the question, right? If it costs more and it's worse on taxes, why does SPY even exist? Why does anyone touch the thing? Because there's genuinely one thing it is the undisputed best on earth at. SPY is the single most traded fund on the planet. Enormous volume, razor-thin spreads, the deepest options market anywhere. Full stop. If you're a day trader, if you're running options, if you're hopping in and out of positions all week, that liquidity is worth actual money to you. For that person, SPY absolutely earns its keep. But just be honest with yourself for 1 second here. Are you trading options every week? Or are you trying to buy one good fund, set up an automatic transfer, and then not open the app for a decade? Because if it's that second one, and come on, for most of us it is so obviously the second one, then you're paying for a race car's top speed to go pick up groceries. Now let me get out ahead of a mistake, because this exact type of video causes it every single time. Somebody watches a comparison, gets a little anxious, and goes, I'll just buy all three, cover my bases. Please don't do that. VOO and SPY are the same 500 stocks. Buying both is literally owning the same thing twice, for zero reason. And VOO plus VTI, we just did the math. They're 85% the same fund. So all you'd actually be doing is tilting even harder into the giant companies you're already swimming in while telling yourself you diversified. Diversification does not come from collecting tickers like Pokemon. One of these funds already is the diversification. Pick one. Stop there. All right, the thing you actually clicked for. Forget fees for a second. Which one just makes you the most money? VOO and SPY track the identical index, so their returns are a photo finish basically every year. The only daylight between them is that fee we already roasted SPY over. VTI is the one with a little drama because those thousands of extra small companies mean it wanders off from the S&P a touch. Some years the little guys give it a nudge up, some years they drag it back down a hair. Over 30 years though, it's close enough that nobody honest is going to promise you a winner. And that right there is the answer. You're not choosing between good and great. You're choosing between great and the same exact great, except with one you overpaid and tipped the IRS on your way out. Okay, bow on it. Here's who each one is genuinely for. You want the simplest, cheapest way to own America's biggest companies and truly never think about it again? That's VOO. It's the default, and being the boring, obvious default is the whole reason I love it. You'd rather just own everything, every size, the whole market, one fund, done forever? That's VTI. Same rock bottom cost, same tax perk, just a wider net. And genuinely, you cannot screw this up. Pick whichever story you vibe with a little more and go live your life. SPY? Only, and I mean only, if you're an active trader who basically lives in the options chain. And if that's you, you already knew it before you clicked. For everybody else, there's just no reason on earth to pay more and invite a tax bill to hold the same stuff everyone else is getting cheaper. But here's the part I actually care about. More than any ticker in this entire video. The gap between VOO and VTI? Tiny. The gap between owning one of them and just sitting in cash, still researching, waiting to feel ready? That one is enormous. That's the gap that actually costs people, and funny enough, nobody makes a video about that one. So pick your lane. VOO if you want the 500, VTI if you want the whole thing. Either way, you walk off with a fund that's dirt cheap, tax smart, and quietly grinding away for you for the next 30 years. The clock does the work. You just have to start it. And that's the honest answer. No hype, no noise. If it helped, hit subscribe, and the next one comes right to you. Skip the noise, build real wealth. See you in the next one.